Hi friends, this is Rajeshwar Rayapati and welcome to my channel Rayapati. Now, as per the many requests, I am starting a series of SQL videos which are required for Tableau. I'll be covering only the content that is required for Tableau. And please do like, subscribe, share my channel Rayapati and also share it among your friends who are who are working on Tableau and are or who are aspiring for Tableau. Okay, coming to today's topic. Today's topic is what table now in these examples going down the line, what table we'll be using. Now, Oracle always provides us with three tables which are DEPT, EMP, and SalGrade. Okay, so those three are the tables that we'll be using. DEPT is a table that always talks about departments in a company, and EMP table talks about employees and their details, and SalGrade always talks about the grades in the company based on the salary. Now, why is this required? Because these three tables will address almost all the scenarios that come into SQL. Oracle has designed it in such a way, and we will write all our select statements based on these three tables only. So it's very important we have an understanding on these three tables. So whenever we are writing a select statement, what is the most important thing? Now, whenever you are writing a select statement, you have to be clear why are you writing that select statement. Now, what is your output? What do you want to achieve from your select statement? And what purpose it is going to serve? Is it going to serve? See, when you are writing a SQL statement and getting an output, what purpose? Is it going to address the issues of a low level management or a medium level manager or a higher management? Or it is going to serve the people who are in sales department or in the accounting department? So you have to have all those clarities. So that is where your target audience also come from. So for whom you are targeting that? So you have to have this clarity when you are writing your select statement. And coming to the next parts, the two important and the most basis or the pillars of Oracle or RDBMS, relational database management systems, is state of relation and cardinality. Now, earlier we discussed that always in a relational database, it is always about a table which contains rows and columns, right? So when we are talking about state of relation, the state of relation always talks about a column. Okay, so when you have a column, what state is always in? By state I mean whether it is in a mandatory state or an optional state. So what do you mean by mandatory state? When it is a mandatory state, you cannot insert records with null values into that column. So here you have your select statement. If I try to insert any, like if you see, first thing is this EMP number column. What is the state of it? Is it mandatory or not? If it is mandatory, I cannot insert a null into it. And if it is not mandatory, I can insert null into it. Here you are seeing there are certain columns that are there which are not having nulls and certain columns which are having nulls. But that doesn't mean all these columns are in mandatory state. Only certain columns will be in mandatory state. So you have to define as per your business scenarios. It should be defined that which columns are mandatory and which columns are optional. So that state is always a business decision. Now here commission is decided that it can have nulls. Now coming to each column, can an employee exist without an employee number? No, right? So there you cannot have a column without an employee number. So here it is always mandatory. Can an employee exist with a name without a name? Not possible. Can an employee exist without a job or a job title? No. Can an employee exist without a manager? Yeah, there might be some people who are some CFOs or something, they might not have a person who they report to, or directors of the company. They might not. It's not mandatory. They might have someone to report to, but it's not always mandatory. But can an employee exist without a hire date? Somewhere they have to start their job, right? So hire date is mandatory. Can an employee work without a salary? No, not possible. Why do you work if you're not working for a salary? And can an employee have a commission? Now, generally, commission is the term that is associated with sales, marketing, wherever the profit centers are, that is where the commission is associated with. Now, everyone associated with a commission? Not mandatorily. And can an employee exist without any department? And it is specific. Some companies can exist with have an employee without department. Some companies can exist without should mandatorily ask every employee to be associated to any department. So every decision here, right, is a business decision. What is their business? What is their company portfolio? How do they process above? How do they what policies do they follow? So based on that, you will have your table. But based on that business decisions only, you will come to a conclusion whether a column is mandatory or optional. Now coming to the second part, what is cardinality of the relation? The cardinalities are, first thing we need to talk about types of cardinalities. Now we have one to one, one to many to many. But when you see here, when it is one to one, it is like a child to a father, a child to a mother, a wife to a husband. A child can always and always have only one father or one mother. A wife can have only one husband. So that is where whenever you find one thing, you are confident that you can only find one thing related to that. If I find a wife, obviously I'll be having only one husband. And if I find a child, it's a one father. So now, even in when you're talking about a table, here in this table, when I take any employee number, I am sure it is going to point towards only one employee. But if I talk about employee name, does that valid? Like if I take an employee number, are you sure that it will point towards only one employee? Not always. And the one or more employees can exist with the same name. In my schooling, there are two people who have the same name, but their roll numbers are different. So not always one to one exists. For everything, one to one doesn't exist. Again, it is a business decision. Now, one to many, a father can have n number of childs. So that is why it is one to many, because a father can have children, many children. Now the other way around, many children can have one father. That is also there. Like for me, my dad has two, me and my sister. But when you're talking about relational database systems, many to one doesn't exist, because in a relational database, the cardinality always flow from lower cardinality to higher cardinality. So that is why it is always one to many in relational database. Many to one doesn't even exist. So what is many to many? Many to many is for one here, there can be many there, and the same way the opposite. One to many, both sides. Here one can have many there, and there one can have many here. That is like grandchildren's to grandparents. Grandchildren's, well, if you take a grandparent, they can have many grandchildren, because they might have 2 to 3 children, and they might have those children might have again children. So that is one to many. And again, the reverse. Now, a child might be having father side grandparents and mother side grandparents. So that is many to many. So when it is about a cardinality, it always there are only 3 states in RDBMS. One is one to one, one to many, and many to many. Okay, so these cardinalities, whenever we are working with the tables, we always test these cardinalities. Now how do we test? From table to each column of the table, from table to column, from table to column in that table, normally it is like only one to one should be there. If it is not, then we should always go for normalization. That's a different concept. Now, we'll always check cardinality from column to the table. For every column to the table, what is the cardinality? And one table to other table, what is the cardinality? And from one column to another column in the same table, what is the cardinality? So why do we test these cardinalities? Testing these cardinalities are very important while normalization and also while doing the joins. So these cardinalities play a lot of role when you are doing these joins. And one step of performance tuning is a result of these cardinalities, which we'll discuss when we are talking about it. So you should have a clear understanding about the state of relation and cardinality. We will discuss about this in detail in our next session. Okay, see, I have put all these stars because it is very, very important that you understand this. Okay, so meet you in the next session. Bye guys, and please do like, subscribe and share my channel Rayapati, and also share it among your friends. And now I've started a series of SQL classes, and if you are following this and if you have any doubts, please do comment on it so that I can get back to you on the same. Okay, thank you guys.